Coming up on Global Business, helping hand, China's central bank vows to make monetary policy more accommodative to and increase financial support for private enterprises. Unveiling the future, global trade efforts get impetus as the China International Supply Chain Expo commences in Beijing. It is the world's first national-level exhibition focusing on supply chains. Climate matters. Global experts have called for urgent measures to mitigate the impact of climate change ahead of the COP28 climate conference in Dubai. Good evening from Beijing and welcome to this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Lily Lu. We begin by taking a look at the latest monetary policy report by China's central bank. The report says that the monetary policy implemented this year has effectively maintained reasonable growth of money and credit aggregates while steadily reducing financing costs for the real economy. And notably, the policy has played a crucial role in facilitating financing for high-tech and green firms, as well as addressing and mitigating financial risks. Looking forward, the central bank intends to further enhance financial support for private enterprises and reduce their comprehensive financing costs. The governor of the People's Bank of China emphasized that monetary policy will continue to be accommodating. And additionally, he emphasized the importance of implementing structural reforms over time to gradually decrease reliance on infrastructure and property for economic growth. Chinese authorities have emphasized the need to enhance financial support for private companies. The People's Bank of China, along with 7 other government departments and regulators, has released a statement outlining 25 measures to address this issue. The statement highlights the importance of facilitating financial channels such as loans, bonds, and equities for private enterprises. And it also suggests increasing the tolerance for non-performing loans of private firms and providing additional support for first-time borrowers. In the meantime, international financial institutions are recognizing the significance of China's lenders. The Financial Stability Board recently included China's Bank of Communications in its list of global systemically important banks. And furthermore, the Agricultural Bank of China and China Construction Bank have been moved from bucket 1 to bucket 2 in terms of importance. Now, for more insights on this, let's bring our guest, Mr. Hong Hao, Chief Economist of the Grow Investment Group. Hong Hao, so the People's Bank of China has released new guidelines for monetary policies in the third quarter, which emphasize on the need to strengthen the adjustment of both the total amount and structure of monetary supply. What can we learn from these new movements?
Yes, thanks for having me. I think this year the credit growth in China has faced a new challenge. Traditionally, property sector is a powerful credit multiplier for credit growth in China. But this year, because of the property sales are still slowing down, and therefore, the effect of a credit multiplier is not being shown this year. And as a result, if you look at the household mid to long-term borrowing, it's actually the growth is actually very small, and sometimes it can be negative. And also, private credits by corporates are slowing as well. So I think at this juncture, if we emphasize too much on the total amount of lending instead of the structure and also the quality of lending, it may not help economic growth as much as it used to be. So a new strategy needs to be formed. And also, if you look closely, this monetary policy report also emphasized for the first time the need to use leverage to drive economic growth. I think this is the first time we actually use the word leverage in terms of the credit policy going forward. So I think, even though there isn't that much details are being released in this report, and we can sense there is a directional change in the central bank's way of managing credit growth going forward. So let's wait and see, what other sort of detailed steps it will come up with in the months ahead.
And also in recent top-level financial work conference, put an emphasis on China's commitment to building its financial power. So what kind of strategy do you think China need to achieve this goal?
Yes, I think another challenge this year is that because we have the Chinese yuan internationalization, right? So we have increased international flow, cross-border flow of Chinese yuan in and out of China. So I think as a result, sometimes we can actually experience a small capital outflow, in the Chinese financial sector. So I think this is a necessary step of the RMB internationalization, in the sense that once the Chinese yuan achieve international status and becomes one of the leading international currency for settlement and also for payment, then inevitably the cross-border flow will increase. So I think this year, in terms of the percentage of total reserve currency, and also in terms of the percentage of global payment and also global settlement, I think that the Chinese yuan has risen dramatically this year because of the Chinese trade is gaining increasing importance with Russia and many other emerging countries. So this is a very important step of the Chinese financial system liberalization, and I think we are on the right track. And I think the Chinese yuan is also on the right track to become one of the major international reserve currencies.
Great insights. Thank you very much, Mr. Hong Hao, Chief Economist of Grow Investment Group. And still to come here on Global Business. Unveiling the future, global trade efforts get impetus as the China International Supply Chain Expo commences in Beijing. And this is the world's first national level exhibition focusing on supply chains.
It's the world's first national level expo focused on supply chain.
5 major supply chains that will define the future of prosperity.
Discover cutting-edge solutions and innovation as entire industry chains are on display.
Witness the power of global cooperation ensuring supply chain stability and resilience.
The first China International Supply Chain Expo, connecting the world for a shared future. Only on CGTN.
The China International Supply Chain Expo marks the world's first national level exhibition focusing on supply chains. 5 major industries are in the spotlight: smart vehicles, clean energy, digital technology, agriculture, and health. Our reporter Huang Fei has more.
China's Premier Li Qiang kicked off the event with a renewed commitment to open market access.
安全稳定是实现发展的
Supply chain security and stability are the foundation of development. This requires us to promote cooperation with mutual respect and equal treatment, strengthen key industrial chains, and coordinate resources globally. We must avoid arbitrary interference in market behavior, support enterprises in their analysis and risk response, and strive to reduce factors of uncertainty and instability.
Over 500 companies are joining the display. Major companies like Tesla, Qualcomm, and ExxonMobil show a strong American interest, surpassing organizers' initial expectations. Among international participants, a notable 36% represent the United States and Europe.
We are mainly active in the renewable energy business, solar, energy storage, batteries, charging infrastructure for EVs. And China is leading in all these markets, and that's the reason why we are here, to find out the latest news, the trends. It's because what's going on in China will affect the world.
The expo is seen as Beijing's answer to Washington's de-risking approach. Some multinationals are exploring supply chain relocations to avoid fallouts of the China-US tech rivalry. The World Trade Organization recently downgraded its 2023 forecast for global trade in goods from 1.7% to a mere 0.8%. With a high-profile event, China is positioning itself as a champion of globalization.
China accounted for nearly a third of the world's manufacturing output in 2022 and continues to play a key role in global economic recovery. The expo is both a demonstration of China's own supply chain resilience and a bid for new connections. Industry leaders are expected to delve into critical issues facing global supply chains today and are using this timely platform to shore up alliances amid changing trade dynamics. Huang Fei, CGTN, Beijing.
The China Council for the Promotion of International Trade unveiled the Global Supply Chain Promotion Report during the expo. The report provides insights into the ongoing trends in the global supply chain and underscores the importance of collaboration in optimizing resource allocation among businesses. It also highlights the role of cooperation in expediting the recovery of the global economy and tackling common challenges faced by nations worldwide. Additionally, the report includes 5 sub-reports which delve into the current state of global supply chains, from smart cars, smartphones, photovoltaic power generation, pharmaceutical, and green wheat. In the meantime, my colleague Michael Wang spoke to Coren Kodulu, co-founder and CEO of Turkey's Top Food Investment, or TFI. TFI is the world's 4th largest independent quick service restaurant operator. TFI owns the Burger King brand in China and has some 1,500 Burger King stores in the country. The company is showcasing its entire industry chain at the expo. They also spoke about the market potential for Turkey businesses in China. Take a look.
And we're going to talk about that ecosystem in just a second, Korhan, but I want to also get your take in terms of what sort of outcomes does TFI want to achieve at the first Supply Chain Expo?
We would like to understand that China, especially in the technology and digitalization side, is quite advanced. And we have learned sincerely a lot from our Chinese operations. And all this digitalization, blockchains, AI, is very important to be able to integrate and manage supply chains.
Yeah.
So we are looking into how we can automate further and make it more accurate, our decisions in managing our supply chain, and how this intelligence can be applied to our business.
Yeah. Korhan, let's talk about the relationship, the economic relationship, I would say, between Turkey and China. So besides being the co-founder of TFI, you also represent Turkish businesses here at the Supply Chain Expo. And I just want to get your take in terms of how do you see the market potential for Turkish businesses here in China?
Because I have been coming to China since 2012, almost, this is probably the 90 times, and I have visited 40 cities. I believe the Turkey has a lot of potential with Chinese counterparts. So I devoted my time to DEIC and to SIAT Business Association, and I am holding the position of chairperson for these associations. And we have brought a big delegation, for example, to this supply chain. It's like 40 businessmen, important, and it's coming from different industries, from construction to energy to technology to agriculture. So we have representing different businesses, and I'm hoping that we will find opportunities for every one of those businesses to partner up and to invest in Turkey or in China, in third countries, together as joint ventures, because our experience showed that Chinese people, Chinese business and Turkey business has a lot of complementaries. So when we really partner up together, we create a stronger joint venture together.
Yeah.
And one employee at the South African Chamber of Commerce said that this expo is an important platform to showcase African products. She also shared her thoughts on the new opportunities in the Chinese market. Take a listen.
It's important because, number one, it allows companies to get recognized. Two, it allows for products to move across different boards without the hassle It allows access to different communities. It allows Africans whose products are big in their countries to also be explored in other countries. And it allows people to explore other products. I think the potential is endless. South Africa is a growing company, it's a growing country, it's a developing country. South Africa has so much potential, it has so many resources, not only just mineral resources, it has young people who have so much to offer the world. It has people who are innovative, it has creatives, it has people who have hunger for success. So I think that these type of expos allow young people to come out with their products and showcase them. China, I would say, is basically selling the dream to everyone. China is a big hub of manufacturing, wholesaling. China has a great work ethic. We've seen how China has developed. We've seen the growth of China. So I think a lot of countries besides South Africa could learn a lot from China. So if we can absorb as much knowledge and treat China as a sponge to absorb much knowledge and apply what they have done in their own countries to our own countries, I think we'll see a lot of growth.
U.S. President Joe Biden warned companies against price gouging and reiterated his commitment to reducing inflation during the inaugural meeting of the Supply Chain Resilience Council. He also announced measures to improve access to programs related to production and transportation of goods. And these efforts are part of ongoing initiatives to address supply chain challenges that have contributed to increased inflation in the United States. And addressing inflation remains a critical concern for President Biden as he prepares for the upcoming presidential election. For more insights on the supply chain in the U.S. and around the globe, we're now joined by our guest, Chu Qiang, Research Fellow at the Beijing Foreign Studies University. Mr. Chu, first of all, what do you think is the main objective of Joe Biden's recently established Supply Chain Resilience Committee?
Well, I think we can conclude his purpose just into two words. One is affordability, and second is availability of the supplies in America. Everybody would know that in the recent few years, in America facing a huge inflation, very high and very quickly evolving into a problem of the whole society. Things are getting very expensive, and that could be very bad news for the politics. And also, the availability. In America, sometimes they're suffering from a choke point in the supplies for some strategic important, products. For example, the vaccines. The shortage happened in the very beginning of the pandemic, so it can be a problem also for the politics. Everybody knows 2024, the election year is coming, so I think it's very important to make sure that the people will believe the government can provide, the good and affordable product for their whole society. So that is why they make the promise.
And also, what strategies does the committee intend to implement in order to strengthen, the resilience of the supply chain within the U.S.?
Well, I think they are still making this report, and they're going to release it, not in a very quick time. But I think basically, according to my knowledge, they only have two options. Number one is that to make sure that every product can be made in America, and to guarantee the security of the whole supply chain. And secondly, is to be good friend and a good payer and a buyer for the product, and make sure that the whole products can be, produced according to each country's specialty in every respective countries. So the whole global supply chain can be stable. Well, probably I think the first option can be very attractive to American voters. But if you look down into it, you find it's probably a mission impossible. Because according to the basic economics, it's basically impossible for one country to produce everything what they needed. Not even for America, not even for a country who has probably the dominant resources and the capacity to produce this kind of a product. I will give you just one extreme example. For example, oil. America used to try to protect the supply chain in the oil and gas in the Middle East by investing who knows how much of the money and how much of the wars and lives. But did they guarantee that? And even after that, when America becomes the #1 producer and exporter of oil of itself, still America cannot protect the oil prices, and their oil prices will still be stirred by the international market. So there's nothing called you can guarantee the supply chain by the effort of your own. But the second option is the only option that we have in this globalized world.
And also, what approaches do you think this committee plans to take in order to facilitate collaboration with Chinese counterparts as well as international partners in order to promote global efforts towards supply chain resilience?
Well, I think one sign showed this committee can be very practical is that we see that America government branches and also big companies are very interested in the Chinese supply chain exhibition. And also they send a delegation to this exhibition as well, because I think deep down inside they realized that in order to make sure that the voters and the customers and citizens in America can enjoy the real security of the supply chain and have the real guarantee for the availability and affordability of the product, is to work with the global supply chain, to work with a country like China, who produces 2/3 of the world products, to work with ASEAN nations, to work with the Middle Eastern nations. So when everybody can, keep a very good partnership in a peaceful environment, and then to work together, when globalization and this order of the world market can function well, I think the maximum benefit of the American customers can be really guaranteed. I think this is the true way to achieve what the American government really wanted and to protect the benefit of American people.
Oh, great insights. Thank you so much, Mr. Qu Qiang from Beijing Foreign Studies University. And during the expo, one of the side forums held on Tuesday centered around green development. The participants engaged in discussions regarding the significance of international collaboration in establishing clean energy supply chains. Take a listen.
One of the major problems facing the world today is the need to address the very threat of climate change. Another global problem, equally important, is the need to continue to produce affordable energies to maintain and to raise living standards around the world. 3 billion people fall short today of modern living standards, and far too many remain in extreme poverty with no access to electricity or clean cooking fuels. Oil and gas are at the center of both. In 2050, we estimate that they will still represent more than half of the global energy demand. Combustion oil and gas is a leading source of man-made greenhouse gas emissions, no questions about that. And at the same time, the benefits of these energy sources are just simply unmatched in human history as they grow economies, eradicate poverties, as well as improve quality of life.
We do believe that China has a great potential to become a leading global supplier of green methanol because China has the third largest resources of bio-waste globally, as well as abundant wind and solar resources which can be utilized for methanol production. Also, China has unparalleled engineering capabilities and capabilities to scale fast and cost efficiently. Green methanol can be produced on basis of resources 100% available within China, thus reducing the need for energy imports into China and enhancing China's energy independence, while at the same time reducing CO2 emissions. This is win-win in the purest form.
The 24th meeting of the members of the China Men and the Biosphere Program and the celebration of the 30th anniversary of the establishment of the China MAB network commenced on Tuesday in Huangshan, Anhui Province. Huangshan Scenic Area, renowned as a demonstration base for zero carbon initiatives, has achieved a significant milestone by becoming China's first zero carbon mountainous scenic area. And through comprehensive efforts to promote zero carbon initiatives, it has emerged as one of the country's pioneering low carbon tourism demonstration areas, successfully attaining carbon neutrality.
Huangshan,
at the first nature reserve with 3 prestigious titles: World Cultural and Natural Heritage, World Geopark, and World Biosphere Reserve, boasts the largest gene-improved species in East China. This area has been actively involved in various initiatives, including the conservation of vegetation carbon sinks, implementation of energy substitution in scenic spots, and development of intelligent tourism.
These efforts have successfully achieved a harmonious coexistence of man and nature, balancing ecological recovery in mountains and forests while providing high-quality ecological products for over 4 million Chinese and foreign tourists annually. Huangshan serves as a prime example of biodiversity conservation not only in China but also globally.
As world leaders prepare to meet in Dubai this week for the COP28 climate conference, global experts are calling for immediate actions to mitigate the impact of climate change. In Kenya, there is an ongoing debate on whether a blanket carbon tax would bring about a positive change. Daniel Arampo reports.
Major global economies are pushing for a price on carbon emissions. The aim would be to encourage countries to transition into green economies. And the idea is simple. Those who produce more emissions should pay more. But there are fears that a blanket implementation of the tax, especially in Africa, could lead to a rise in the price of carbon-emitting goods.
On the carbon tax specifically, we are not of the view that this is a fair way to finance climate action, because automatically we believe that a carbon tax on transportation of goods and services will affect everyone inequally. We foresee that this is going to have an impact on the price of goods and services in Africa.
Global plastic pollution experts, on the other hand, say a carbon tax in Africa may not be feasible due to business interests.
I think there are petrochemical economic interests, fossil fuel economic interests at play, trying to stop the world for coming up with policies that would regulate plastic pollution.
Some experts in Africa are of the view that the specific design and structure of the carbon tax should be tailored to the unique circumstances and developmental needs of each country in Africa.
I think the conversation should be channeled towards a negotiation path where African leaders, especially those from the Horn of Africa, should come up with a structure or a pathway on how that tax could be used to offset the existing African debt.
But also of concern in Africa is the fact the carbon tax would not target emissions like methane. Many argue fighting global warming involves more than just putting all nations on the road to net zero carbon emissions. They say African nations require other means to provide electricity to their people if fossil fuels are to be given up. While those who support a carbon tax may have good intentions, to many people in Africa, the situation is clearly a little more complicated than it seems. Daniel Arap Moi, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
And that'll do for this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. Thanks for being with us. I'm Lulu in Beijing. Till next time, bye for now.
CGTN, China Global Television Network.